him in a few weeks. They gave him more radiation.
Yeah. They said, well, how do we deal with this? Well, radiation. What do you mean? That the man can barely stand now, so you're going to give him more radiation? Oh, yeah. Kill him in 3 months.
Radiation kills rapidly transforming cells. It kills all the cells in your body.
Until the cells adapt and learn how to grow even faster. That's the cancer causing.
Right. Right. That's where you get your two heads or all.
And the truth is, they think out of all these mutations they're causing, the superhuman's going to rise out of it because that's science. They're testing on a mass guinea pig. The whole planet's a giant guinea pig to give birth to Satan, to give birth to the satanic engineered species. That's their own dream. Ray Kurzweil. All right, we are back live, ladies and gentlemen. Joe Jennings talking about your personal experiences living next door to a secret nuke dump site that exploded as big or bigger than Chernobyl. I mean, people criticize the Russian response. At least they told people instead of suicide teams to actually try to stop it. Not here. We just covered it up.
They just, in Chernobyl, they removed the people. They said, everybody get out. California, oh, there's too many people. We can't do that. Don't tell them. That was the
They admit Chernobyl has killed over 1 million people from cancer alone.
Oh, sure. I mean, they've done studies that even the microbes that are in the forests of Chernobyl nowadays can't break down anything. Like, the leaves fall and then they rot. Nothing's rotting. It's all still there because the radiation has killed absolutely everything as far as the circle of life.
And we wonder why people's kids out there look like mutants. People say, why do your kids not look like mutants? No vaccines, non-GMO food, packing them full of DNA for us. And people make fun of me. They had MSNBC and CNN last week made fun of Roger Stone, unsolicited plugged Brain Force. I mean, that's a known nootropic with a lot of high-quality things that boost the brain. Like coffees, you could say is a nootropic, kind of a low-grade one, And they're making fun of us selling pills that boost people's brains. The military gives people speed, folks. We sell high-quality natural stuff that doesn't hurt you. But again, they make a joke about science, Dr. Group. What else can we do to protect ourselves?
Well, what you can do, first of all, what I would recommend is everybody check and see if they live within a 200-mile radius of any type of experimental or nuclear reactor. If you do, really, believe it or not, one of the best things to do is just drink a lot of clean water. The problem with most people is that their elimination routes are blocked. They're not having 2 bowel movements a day because they're eating a bunch of garbage food and their digestive system is not functioning correctly.
They'd have 2 Hillarys a day.
They're not drinking enough water, clean water, which means they're not urinating enough. See, we have natural methods to repair our genes and repair our DNA if our elimination routes are functioning properly.
So we got to turn it over. Women also have another way when they menstruate.
Menses, exactly. Men have 4 ways through defecation, urination, diaphoresis, sweating, and respiration, and then women have the menstrual cycles. And if those elimination routes are functioning properly, a lot of times water will remove some of these radioactive particles from the body. I also, so exercise, water, eating clean food.
This is so extreme. Eat clean food, water, exercise, walk in the woods, pray to God, meditation. CBS News admits makes you live like a decade longer. You always say
Absolutely.
that. So evil, high-quality vitamins and minerals. You're a horrible person.
Yeah, the solution.
And don't live near a nuke site that blew up. Oh, but they didn't tell Joe Jennings.
Nope.
And 10 million other people.
You pretty much have to these days be on iodine, be on good nutritional supplements. I would recommend everybody being on the DNA Force.
You were exposed to this, Joe. In closing, what did you go? I mean, what are you doing to protect yourself?
I'm taking the iodine. I drink a ton of water, exercise. Anything I can do now. I mean, anything.
Yeah, you lost quite a bit of weight since your dad died.
Yeah. I mean, it's that you never know, you're never going to die, right? In your mind, oh, I'm never going to die. But when you see somebody close like that, who just all of a sudden, boom, you're dead, you start thinking, wait a minute, what do I need to do?
Oh, my mom died like that, boom. He was in great shape, just boom, dead.
My dad, too, I died in 2 weeks. But he was exposed to all the phthalates, and he was in Exxon working with PVC.
He was one of the inventors of bisphenol.
Yeah, he was. Yes.
You literally had the Men in Black come to your house after he died.
Yes, I did. Yep. Had him come to my house and pretty much forced my mom to sign this thick a document saying they weren't going to release any type of or she wasn't going to sue.
Well, you know what? Those men in black, they're not immune either. Why are, as a species, let's stop lying to ourselves and let's start cleaning this up. Oh, I forgot. Only carbon. Let's stop, that will be saved. They just want to tax carbon. Great job. You're on the Nightly News tonight with Jakari.
Anyone wondering why Bernie Sanders' socialist battle cry turned the stomach of many Americans need only look at what is happening in Latin America right now. Reuters reports Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro declared a 60-day state of emergency on Friday due to what he calls plots from within the OPEC country and the United States to topple his leftist government.
Su decreto, hoy, viernes 13 de mayo, estado de excepción y de emergencia económica constitucional para proteger nuestra patria. Aquí está, decreto firmado, aprobado y cúmplase para la protección.
Maduro did not provide details of the measure. A previous state of emergency implemented in states near the Colombia border last year suspended constitutional guarantees in those areas, except for guarantees relating to human rights. Maduro is panicking after his socialist ally, Brazilian President Dilma Rousseff, was forced to step down in what she is calling a coup d'etat. It appears Obama is forcing his hand into yet another blatant example of his long list of corporocratic imperialism for the benefit of the New World Order. In 2002, Obama failed to overthrow Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez. As Washington Post Scott Wilson, the paper's Latin America correspondent at the time, reported, the United States was hosting people involved in the coup before it happened. There was involvement of U.S.-sponsored NGOs and training people that were involved in the coup. I think there was U.S. involvement, yes. Maduro has every reason to believe the United States is fomenting his demise. Venezuela is sitting on the largest oil reserves in the world. However, the Venezuelan people are starving, as Zero Hedge reports. Hungry Venezuelans are protesting that their children are dying from lack of food and medicine and that they do not have enough water or electricity. As Against Crony Capitalism added, this is a country with more oil than Saudi Arabia, and the government has stolen all the money, and now they bottleneck peaceful protesters and threaten them with bombs or haul them to prison and torture them. As pure desperation has set in, crime has become inevitable. A man accused of mugging people in the streets of Caracas was surrounded by a mob of onlookers, beaten and set on fire. Mob justice is now the supreme arbiter of who lives and who dies. In the coming weeks, Obama will likely install yet another dictator friendly to the United States, as he just did in Brazil. Kurt Nimmo writes, the Rothschild-owned magazine The Economist describes Michael Temer as Brazil's unplanned president. The 75-year-old law professor who played a key role in the impeachment of President Dilma Rousseff became the South American country's acting president on Thursday, after Rousseff was suspended by the Senate on corruption charges. Temer's rise to power, however, is not merely a happenstance event. It was arranged by the U.S. State Department in much the same way the puppet government was put into place in the Ukraine. On Friday, the whistleblower website WikiLeaks released an unclassified yet sensitive cable revealing Temer acted as an embassy informant for U.S. intelligence and the military. Maduro had supported Obama's approach towards Cuba. However, as the long list of fallen leaders have come to understand with either their own deaths, invasion, or incarceration, the tidal wave of the global recession has benefited Obama, offering him many disguises, but only serves one master's instructions, that of the New World Order. John Bound for Infowars.com.
Victor Ostrowski is an amazing best-selling author, artist, researcher, former high-level Mossad officer. He's been on everything from Larry King Live to ABC Nightly News, CBS. I'm not going to get into it, but he's a famous spy. He's also was banned for 1 week, but was overturned by the appeals court in Israel. And that was the book By Way of Deception. And I'm not going to, I got this guy on for 5 hours. He's only on for about 20 minutes today. And I want to invite him back in the next few weeks or months when he can for a full hour to get into just his amazing history and the way he sees the world. His website is thebookpatch.com. The reason I thought of him, wanted to get him back on, was he's the only publisher out there that would put out Conchita Sarnoff's incredible investigative journal report, Trafficking, that deals with the white slavery going on around the world and how that ties into Bill Clinton and the election and all the rest of it. So he's a really interesting fellow. So I wanted him to just pop in on human trafficking, but also other things happening in the world and his general view on where the world is today. So, Victor, it's always great to have you on with us. It's been many years. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, where should we start? I kind of threw out a few topics there.
Well, I do make a correction. It was the Israeli government that stopped the publication of the book in the of my book in the U.S. at the time by going to court and asking for it. They said it endangers people and/or countries, which then was overturned based on freedom of speech.
Sure. I was just reading the online bio, but specifically, they tried to stop your book.
Yeah. It's not you weren't incorrect.
All right, so, I mean, thank you for publishing this book. It's powerful stuff. A lot of the research meshes with our own research. But I mean, the bigger picture in your research into human trafficking.
Well, the whole point was not necessarily what I know, but the whole idea of not stopping a book from publication by self-censorship of publishers because they were afraid of lawsuits, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, that's a new method of censorship. If you look at it, it is a bombshell book, and there are explosive elements in it, and yet the mainstream media is not touching it. It was actually mentioned today or yesterday on Fox News that, you know, for some reason, you know, nobody is doing it. Which is amazing to me. There's a lot of research that went to it. It's all documented. All the paperwork is in the book. Conchita wrote a really long research on it. She took her 6 years to write it. It's very detailed. And, you know, the book trafficking is absolutely amazing. You know, I come from a world that is quite scary, but relative to what I went through, what these people are going through is unbelievable. And it reads like a spy novel. And in fact, she was placed in danger when she was in Mexico. She had to basically run away. There's a lot of powerful people involved, and it's very easy for them to manipulate things. And just to keep it out, you know, just to keep it out of the mainstream media, which basically makes it almost disappear. And that's my main goal with the book patch, you know, to allow people to publish books and to come to the forefront with stories that otherwise you may not hear, just like your show.
Well, I remember many years ago having you on. I mean, I guess we could call you a whistleblower exposing corruption in Israel. Doesn't mean you're anti-Israel. They try to spin it like that, but you're exposing corruption. And of course, I'm no enemy of Israel, but whenever I do criticize some of the Israeli, you know, government actions that are different groups of people, then I get demonized, you know, as you know, being anti-Israel. But on the other side of the coin, because I'm not completely anti-Israel, people say I must work for Israel, but it's really frustrating. You know, looking back to your books and things that you exposed, and some of the Israeli government trying to block you. Is Israel more corrupt or less corrupt today, or is that an oversimplification? Because it seems like all these governments now are just more and more out of control.
Well, there is it's very hard to say, but from my experience, I can just tell you this. I did not go against Israel, although you get labeled right away, and it's very easy to be smeared, you know, and said, well, you're anti-Israel, which is kind of almost like a mantra of anybody that disagrees with policies which are wrong. And I think friends of Israel, if you're drunk and your friends don't tell you you're drunk and just let it go and let you drive, they're not your friends. So criticizing a policy which is wrong gives you credibility when you agree with policies that are right. And I think that's how media should be working, and not just being afraid of being smeared and feathered as anti-Israel, which is a tactic. Every government should be criticized. Every government has corruption. It's not something that will be stopped in a minute. But if people are silenced and don't speak up, they take their partners actually in all the things that are wrong. And I criticized an agency that was completely out of control. The head of the agency, which is called Mossad, which is Israel's CIA, was an unknown person. It was like a secret of who he was. After that came changes. Now the person who was head of the agency is in fact a known person, so he can be criticized in public. And agencies like that don't like their laundry washed.
So really, you could be called a major